Hey, peace. What's happening? Blessings to everyone on our deal with.
Recognize royalty, recognize it, recognize royalty, gotta recognize it, recognize royalty, like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty. I can feel, recognize royalty, I can see, recognize royalty, now I recognize royalty, royalty inside, royalty, I can see, recognize royalty, I can love, recognize royalty, now I recognize it. Royalty, I recognize passion. Never just a man with the title in his hand, with the vital in his hand, with the Bible in his hand. You never just a man with the scepter in demand, with the lecture in the stand, with the vector and the candle. Can you understand the grand from the texture of the hand? Hard at work, are you hard at work, working with a man? Oh, it's the ring of royalty. Crown him king, just a thing, letting loyalty ring. Bring frankincense and myrrh and other things. It's gold already blings from the highest that prizes no sins. Recognize the king's overruling commandments with the Trinity and the power it brings. When you recognize royalty, I feel it. I can see. Yeah, I see it.
FBA, Foundational Black Americans, are tethers too.
Recognize royalty, recognize it, recognize royalty, gotta recognize it, recognize royalty, like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty. I can feel, recognize royalty, I can see, recognize royalty, now I recognize royalty, royalty inside, royalty, I can see, recognize royalty, I can love, recognize royalty, now I recognize it. Royalty, I recognize passion. Never just a man with the title in his hand, with the vital in his hand, with the Bible in his hand. You never just a man with the scepter in demand, with the lecture in the stand, with the vector and the candle. Can you understand the grand from the texture of the hand? Hard at work, are you hard at work, working with the man? Oh, it's the ring of royalty. Crown him king, just a thing, letting loyalty ring. Bring frankincense and myrrh and other things. It's gold already blings from the highest that prizes no sins. Recognize the king's overruling commandments with the Trinity and the power it brings. When you recognize royalty, I feel it. I can see. Yeah, I see it. I recognize now. Royalty. I can see. I see it. I'm in love now. I recognize your passion.
Hey, yeah, welcome back once again. Thank you for joining me. Today we are talking about the Great Migration. The idea is that FBA, Foundational Black Americans, are tethers too. And so, we're gonna talk about the Great Migration. African Americans are migrants as well. And as certainly as they consider Caribbean and African immigrants as people who come here trying to take what they have earned. There was a time when they were considered to be that. They were considered to be the tethers who were coming to take what they hadn't earned. And so that's what we're going to try and talk about today, if you will bear with me. So the title of today's show is FBA Are Tethers Too. All right, so, as usual, we're going to wiki and see what we can see. We're going to be reading about the Great Migration today. It says the Great Migration, sometimes known as the Great Northward Migration or the Black Migration, was the movement of 6 million African Americans out of the rural southern United States to the urban Northeast, Midwest, and West between 1910 and 1970. It was substantially caused by poor economic and social conditions due to prevalent racial segregation and discrimination in the states where Jim Crow laws were upheld. And again, right off the bat, we see that, there are millions of people moving. 6 million African Americans moved from the rural South to the urban North. And, is that not the story of Caribbean immigrants as well? People who move from rural places into those big urban centers because of economic reasons, because of poor economics and social conditions. Isn't that really why all immigrants move? And what we're seeing here is a large, I don't know if 6 million of anyone ever moved to America. So African Americans that was a huge migration. That's a great migration. And so African Americans themselves are migrants. So, and I'm just wondering right off the bat, the argument that they like to make with Caribbean people is that we should have stayed in our countries and fixed up our countries. Why did we not stay in our country and fix up our country? Why did we run away? Right? So why did African Americans run away from the South? Why did y'all not stay in the South and fix it up? Why don't y'all go back to the South and fix up the South? The South still today, cities in the South today are among the worst in America. So why don't y'all go back to the South and fix up the place? The same way y'all demand that Caribbean people go back to where they came from and fix it up. Why don't y'all do the same thing? And why don't y'all realize that y'all are not doing anything differently? Your motives are no different from the motives of the immigrants that came from the Caribbean or South or Africa. We were all looking for better economic conditions than where we found ourselves after slavery. And so your decision to move to the North was no different from a Caribbean immigrant's decision to move to the North as well. So we're both in the same position. And so now for you to think you have more claim than anyone else is just really ridiculous. And the reason it's ridiculous is because when y'all were moving, people tended to believe y'all had no claim either. So y'all are in the same position that you were putting other people in. You're doing to your fellow Black immigrants what the white workers did to you. That's what you're really doing. You're behaving like those white people that didn't welcome you to the North. The same way you were unwelcomed in the North by white folks is how you want immigrants to feel unwelcome here. And that's pretty shameful. All right, and it goes on to say, where was I? It was substantially caused by poor economic and social conditions due to prevalent racial segregation and discrimination in the southern states where Jim Crow laws were upheld. In particular, continued lynchings motivated a portion of the migrants as African Americans searched for social reprieve. The historic change brought by the migration was amplified because the migrants, for the most part, moved to the then largest cities in the United States: New York City, Chicago, Detroit, LA, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Washington, D.C. At a time when those cities had essential cultural, social, political, and economic influence over the United States. There, African Americans established culturally influential communities of their own. According to Isabel Wilkerson, despite the losses they felt leaving their homes in the South, and despite the barriers which the migrants faced in their new homes, the migration was an act of individual and collective agency, which changed the course of American history. a Declaration of Independence, which was written by their actions. And why can't that be said of immigrants from the Caribbean? Isn't that the same exact thing that they were doing? They left everything. They left everything they owned to come here as well, looking for something better. And whether it was racial discrimination or whatever was happening where they were, it was still an issue, whether regardless of what it was. You know, they left again. They left their homes and came here as well, and created their own communities, created communities that they considered to be their own. Um, and, you know, they were invited here as well. You know, they didn't just come just to see what was happening. There was, they too were invited. The same way immigrants are invited today to come here and work is the same way those immigrants were invited to come to the North to find work as well. No different. And people came from the Caribbean, people were coming from down south, people were coming from everywhere to come to New York, to come to America in those northern industrial cities to find work. So the immigrants are in the same exact position as those African Americans or FBA. It says, from the earliest US population statistics in 1780 until 1910, more than 90% of the African American population lived in the American South, making up the majority of the population in 3 southern states, namely Louisiana, South Carolina, and Mississippi. But by the end of the Great Migration, just over half of the African American population lived in the South, while a little less than half lived in the North and West. That was a great migration. Almost half of African Americans moved out of the South, just left. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's half of Jamaicans that moved to the North. I don't think it was half of the Caribbean that moved here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, again, why did y'all not choose to do what you ask Caribbean immigrants to do? Why did y'all not stay and fix up the place? Why did y'all run away? Why don't y'all still go back and fix up the place? You know, but I digress. Let's see what else it says. It says, but by the end of the Great Migration, just over half of the African American population lived in the South, while a little less than half lived in the North and West. Moreover, the African American population had become highly urbanized. In 1900, only 1/5 of African Americans in the South were living in urban areas. By 1960, half of the African Americans in the South lived in urban areas. And by 1970, more than 80% of African Americans nationwide lived in cities. In 1991, Nicholas Lemann wrote, "The Great Migration was one of the greatest and most rapid mass internal movements in history, perhaps the greatest not caused by the immediate threat of execution or starvation. In sheer numbers, it outranks the migration of any other immigrant of any other ethnic group. In sheer numbers, it outranks the migration of any other ethnic group, Italians or Irish or Jews or Poles to the United States." So again, y'all moved from where you were for the same exact reason that immigrants from everywhere else was moving from where they were, to find something better. And they didn't stay and fix up the place. Immigrants from the Caribbean didn't stay and fix up the Caribbean for the exact same reason that y'all didn't stay in the South and fix up the South. So when you make that claim, you have to answer that question as well. Why didn't you stay and fix up the place? Fix up your state. Okay, so you're saying, oh, it's your country. Fine. Immigrants are coming into a new country. You're moving within your country. Immigrants should have stayed and fixed up their country. You should have stayed and fixed up your state. Why did you run away from your state? Why not fix it up? Why not go back? Half of the people that moved from their state still refuse to go back there. The same way immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa refuse to go back to Africa and the Caribbean, American migrants refuse to go back to the South where they came from for the same exact reason. So y'all have no more noble cause, no more rights than they do. I mean, in terms of right to do what they did, none at all. Y'all are in the same position, in the same boat. It says, for Black people, the migration meant leaving what had always been their economic and social base in America and finding a new one. That is also true of Caribbeans and African immigrants. They left their social base, they left their homes to come and create a new one. But the insecurities, the fear, all of that they experienced as well, of moving to a new place where nothing is certain. All of that was frightening to them, just as frightening as it was to the African American who was moving from the South to the North. So all migrants were in the same frame of mind and had the same motives to do what they were trying to do. It says some historians analyze the Great Migration in two parts. A first Great Migration from 1910 to 1940, during which about 1.6 million people moved from mostly rural areas in the South to northern industrial cities, and a second Great Migration from 1940 to 1970, which began after the Great Depression and during it. At least 5 million, including townspeople with urban skills, moved to the North and West. And again, that outranked anywhere else. That outranked any other immigrants. And, they weren't welcome either. The same way y'all are trying to make Caribbean immigrants and African immigrants feel unwelcome is the same playbook that you are taking from the white folks that made you feel uncomfortable and unwelcome. Y'all are taking from the playbook of the racists. Like, that's literally what y'all are doing. Literally. Since the civil rights movement, the trend has reversed, with more African Americans moving to the South, albeit far more slowly, dubbed the New Great Migration. These moves were generally spurred by the economic difficulties of cities in the northeastern and midwestern United States, growth of jobs in the New South, and its lower cost of living, family and kinship ties, and lessening discrimination. So, when the North started to have its economic difficulties, Black people started moving. They left again instead of trying to fix up the place. So it looks like instead of trying to fix up anywhere, y'all just move from one place to the other. Soon as one place goes down, y'all move to find where something else is booming. Kind of the same thing that immigrants do. Yes, the same thing that immigrants do. So y'all are on no high ground here. Nobody is on a high ground here. We're all doing the same exact thing, moving, trying to catch that bouncing ball of economic prosperity. That's what everyone is trying to do. All right, so the next thing they do is they go into the causes of the Great Depression. I'm sorry, the Great Depression, the causes of the Great Migration. And that's what we'll talk about next. So it says the primary factors for migration among Southern African Americans were segregation, indentured servitude, convict leasing, an increase in the spread of racist ideology, widespread lynching. Nearly 3,500 African Americans were lynched between 1882 and 1968, and lack of social and economic opportunities in the South. 3,500 African Americans lynched between 1882 and 1968. I wonder if any of those were Caribbean blacks. Were Caribbean blacks lynched as well, or were these just African FBA people? Um, you know, I'm were they did they make that much of a distinction back then between African Americans and Caribbean blacks? Did the white folks even make a distinction? Did they reserve their discrimination to just the African Americans, or did they discriminate also against Caribbean Americans, Caribbean blacks and African blacks? Did they make a distinction in their discrimination, or were all black people, victim of what was going on here? It says some factors pulled migrants to the north. Um, Yeah, and I get just to reiterate, the reason I'm saying that I'm trying to figure out of that 3,500, what they say African Americans that were lynched, were any of them Caribbeans? Were any of them just African migrants? Is that possible, or are these just FBA? Um, who knows? I'm gonna say, it's very possible in my view. I don't see why they couldn't have been Black Caribbeans in that mix of people who were lynched. Um, and so I'm not sure why that could not be Caribbean history as well, or the history of Caribbean immigrants in America. Um, so where was I? Some factors pulled migrants to the north, such as labor shortages in northern factories brought about by World War I, resulting in thousands of jobs in steel mills, railroads, meat packing plants, and the automobile industry. The pull of jobs in the North was strengthened by the efforts of labor agents sent by Northern businessmen to recruit Southern workers. Northern companies offered special incentives to encourage Black workers to relocate, including free transportation and low-cost housing. Um, And that's being done today in the Caribbean. There are companies that go to the Caribbean to recruit workers. The American government even gives out work visas of recruiting people to come to the North and work. So that was happening back then as well, I would assume. I don't see why not. Why would Caribbeans be making that long trek if they also weren't being offered work opportunities there like they are being offered today? So, the story of the Caribbean immigrant to America seems very parallel and very similar to the story of the African American migrant to the North. It's the same story. So if one of them is a tether, then the other one is also a tether. We a bunch of tethers in a pod. During World War I, there was a decline in European immigrants, which slowed the supply of workers for northern factories. So those northern factories were supplied by immigrant European workers. And then once the war broke out and those workers were sent to Europe to fight in World War I, there were job openings. And so those companies went to the South to recruit Black workers. Um, Around 1.2 million European immigrants arrived during 1914, while only 300,000 arrived the next year. So because of the war, the numbers of immigrants were reduced drastically. But those immigrants were the major source of the employment in those northern factories. Save World War I, if there was no World War I, the Great Migration would likely not have occurred, because those industries in the North were being supplied by European immigrants. That's where the labor was coming from. The enlistment of workers into the military had also affected the labor supply. This created a wartime opportunity in the North for African Americans, as the northern industry sought a new labor supply from the south. There were many advantages for northern jobs compared to southern jobs, including wages that could be double or more. That was what the Caribbean immigrants saw themselves, is the increase in their wages. That's why they moved. Same reason the southern blacks moved. The southern sharecropping system and agricultural depression, the widespread the southern sharecropping system and agricultural depression, the widespread infestation of the cotton boll weevil, and flooding also provided motivation for African Americans to move into the northern cities. And again, if we study the history of what's happening in the Caribbean, I'm sure you're going to see parallels of this as well, where there's just stuff going on that there are economic things happening in their countries, and they chose to leave looking for a better life. And they didn't just choose to leave to just anywhere. They chose to go where they were invited. Those northern companies were inviting Caribbean workers as well. It says the South's pervasive exclusion of African Americans from political power, their lack of representation, and a dearth of social opportunities and a culture regulated by Jim Crow laws also motivated African Americans to migrate northward. So why didn't you just fix up the place? Why did you run away from your state, from your home? Why didn't you stay and fix up the place? It sure was a mess. The first Great Migration, 1910 to 1940. When the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, less than 8% of the African American population lived in the northeastern or midwestern United States. This began to change over the next decade to such an extent that a U.S. Senate committee ordered an investigation into the causes of the mass migration from the South during the preceding decade, especially to Kansas, where many sought refuge. In 1900, about 90% of Black Americans still lived in southern states. Between 1910 and 1930, the African American population increased by 40% in the northern states as a result of the migration, mostly in the major cities. The cities of Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Baltimore, and New York City had some of the biggest increases in the early part of the 20th century. Tens of thousands of Black workers were recruited for industrial jobs, such as positions related to the expansion of the Pennsylvania Railroad. Because changes were concentrated in the cities, which had also attracted millions of new or recent European migrants, which had also attracted millions of new or recent European immigrants, tensions rose as the people competed for jobs and scarce housing. Tensions were often most severe between ethnic Irish defending their recently gained positions and territory and recent immigrants and Black people. So, so here we have it. The tensions were between those Irish who felt like they were defending their positions, because these were the positions that from their perspective, they left their positions to go fight in a war. And when they came back, they wanted their jobs back. When they came back, their jobs were being filled by migrants. In their view, these were Southerners, Southern Blacks nonetheless. And they were like, we want our jobs back. We just went fighting for this country. Y'all weren't the ones fighting for the country, and we want our jobs back. Get out of here. That was their view. And it sounds very similar, the same way those white folks felt like these Blacks were taking their stuff. It's the same way now Black folks think Black immigrants are taking their stuff and creating this tension about it. But where white folks were complaining that we were taking their jobs, FBA is complaining that we're taking their reparations. It would be one thing. It would be one thing if they were complaining that we were taking their jobs and the opportunities. But their main concern is reparations. They don't want us to have reparations, which is something that they have not earned. So reparations isn't something you earned. Reparations is just something you're granted. So at least the white folks' position was more noble in that sense. They felt like y'all were taking their jobs and they wanted to work. You just think people are just taking your free stuff. And that's a major difference. And that, in my estimation, that kind of makes your position worse and less noble, in my estimation. Tensions and violence. With the migration of African Americans northward and the mixing of white and black workers in factories, the tension was building, largely driven by white workers. And I'm wondering if, well, I'm not even wondering anymore because, it says that the issue that these Irish um, workers were having was with recent immigrants and black people. And so I don't think they separated black immigrants from African Americans. When they had their issues, the black immigrants were classed with the FBA migrants. I don't imagine that an Irish person complaining about his job being taken gave a crap about the difference between a black immigrant from Jamaica or an African American from down south. I don't care. I don't think he made the distinction. They were just all black people to him who were trying to take his job. And the tensions were felt by both groups, by those black immigrants and the African American migrant, because they were all immigrants. They were all immigrants and people who did not belong there as far as the Irish were concerned. They were all the same people. Even when this article speaks about African Americans, sometimes I feel like it's including black immigrants from the Caribbean. When it says African Americans, for example, were lynched 3,500, who knows whether black Caribbean immigrants were included in there? Are we going to say that no Caribbean black person was lynched during the Jim Crow era? How do or is the does anyone have facts about that? If I had to guess, I would say sure, I could see where that happens. It's not as if today, when there's racism is only relegated to FBA. Like a racist asks you first if you're Caribbean or not, then decides whether to discriminate against you. So all of this stuff that's going on with these tensions were also being felt by black immigrants and apparently by even recent white immigrants, because these Irish folks were possibly against white immigrants from Scotland, immigrants from everywhere who were trying to take their jobs. Um, However, given that the black migration from the South was so huge and it was bigger than any other migration, I guess I can assume that their ire was more towards black folks than anything else because there was a lot of them out of nowhere, you know. But again, I don't think they made the distinction between immigrant or migrant, between a Caribbean and a Southern black. I just don't think that they made that distinction. All right, so it says the AFL, the American Federation of Labor, advocated the separation between European Americans and African Americans in the workplace. There were nonviolent protests, such as walkouts in protest of having blacks and whites working together, whether it's a black migrant from the South or a black immigrant from the Caribbean or Africa. I don't think these white folks made a distinction. It's not as if the black immigrants from the Caribbean, they were like, oh, these are good. These are good. It's just the Southern blacks that we don't like. I don't necessarily believe that. So there were tensions. We all received the ire of these white folks who were upset about the losses they were having. The AFL, the American Federation of Labor, advocated the separation between European Americans and African Americans in the workplace. There were nonviolent protests, such as walkouts, in protest of having blacks and whites working together. As tension was building due to advocating for segregation in the workplace, violence soon erupted. Yeah, so, it's about to get crazy. It's about to get crazy. And again, they were against blacks and whites working together. Whether it was black immigrants from the Caribbean or they didn't, that wasn't their issue. They were concerned. Their main concern was their position and their communities. Um, and so, that's where the tension started. And it reminds me of the tension that exists today between FBA and black Caribbean immigrants and black immigrants from everywhere. But again, this time it's not about us taking their jobs. It's about us taking their reparations and their affirmative action and their food stamps. That's really what this is about. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna take a quick little break, um, and then we're gonna continue. So let's take a commercial break, and then we'll come back to this awesome lesson.
I want you to listen very, very carefully. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. Brought us from the motherland in bondage and chains. Bury our culture and change our names. They claim we're free, yet we are in pain. As long as there's life, there's a lot to gain. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. When God spoke his words, they said he was deranged. Marley sung his songs, they said the same. Malcolm X and Martin Luther fought relentlessly so we could be better. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. Brought us from the motherland in bondage and chains. Bury our culture and change our names. They claim we're free, yet we are in pain. As long as there's life, there's a lot to gain. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are brave.
All right, so just to revisit, it says with the migration of African Americans northward and the mixing of white and black workers in factories, the tension was building, largely driven by white workers. The AFL, the American Federation of Labor, advocated the separation between European Americans and African Americans in the workplace. There were nonviolent protests, such as walkouts in protest of having blacks and whites working together. As tension was building due to advocating for segregation in the workplace, violence soon erupted. In 1917, the East St. Louis riot, known for one of the bloodiest workplace riots, had between 40 and 200 killed and more than 6,000 African Americans displaced from their homes. And again, when it says African Americans, is it only talking about the ones that came from the South? Is it only when it says African Americans or blacks? Caribbeans are included in that, right? In these riots, when they went out rioting, they didn't distinguish between a Caribbean black and a Southern black. They didn't make a distinction. They just went rioting, and those among the 6,000, among the 40 to up to 200 killed, and the 6,000 displaced, there were Caribbean blacks as well, going through the same issues that the Southern blacks that migrated were going through. Because as far as these white folks were concerned, we're all migrants, and none of us belong there. We're all the same, and none of us belong there. It says the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, responded to the violence with a march known as the Silent March. More than 10,000. And why would the NAACP get involved? The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. The advancement of not FBA, of just Black Americans from the South, is the advancement of colored people. So, and they advocate for everyone, for all colored people, including Caribbean immigrants. So we can safely assume that these tensions were against Caribbean people as well. More than 10,000 African American men and women demonstrated in Harlem, New York. And again, in Harlem in 1917, there are a lot of Black immigrants as well. There are Black immigrants. It's not just Southern Blacks that are there. Conflicts continued post-World War I as African Americans continued to face conflicts and tension while the African American labor activism continued. In the late summer and autumn of 1919, racial tensions became violent and came to be known as the Red Summer. This period of time was defined by violence and prolonged rioting between Black and white Americans in major U.S. cities. The reason for this violence varied. Cities that were affected by the violence included Washington, D.C., Chicago, Omaha, Knoxville, Tennessee, and Elaine, Arkansas, a small rural town 70 miles southwest of Memphis. The race riots peaked in Chicago, with the most violence and death occurring there during the riots. The authors of The Negro in Chicago, A Study of Race Relations and a Race Riot, an official report from 1922 on race relations in Chicago, came to the conclusion that there were many factors that led to the violent outbursts in Chicago. Principally, many Black workers had assumed the jobs of white men who went to go fight in World War I. As the war ended in 1918, many men returned home to find out their jobs had been taken by Black men who were willing to work for far less. By the time the rioting and violence had subsided in Chicago, 38 people had lost their lives and 500 more injured. Additionally, $250,000 worth of property was destroyed and more than 1,000 persons were left homeless. In other cities across the nation, many more had been affected by the violence of the Red Summer. The Red Summer enlightened many of the growing racial tension in America. The violence in these major cities prefaced the soon-to-follow Harlem Renaissance, an African-American cultural revolution in the 1920s. Racial violence appeared again in Chicago in the 1940s and in Detroit, as well as other cities in the Northeast, as racial tensions over housing and employment discrimination grew. Yeah, so again, there were Black immigrants coming from the South and Black immigrants coming from the Caribbean and other places. And they all ended up in those same northern cities trying to get work in those factories. And those white workers did not make a distinction between them. They were just all African Americans. They were just all Black people that didn't belong there and that were taking their jobs and that were willing to work for a lot less. The migrants that came from the Caribbean were willing to work for less, like the Southern Blacks were. And again, our reasons for leaving the Caribbean were the same as the reasons for blacks leaving the South. So, and in the in the eyes of those white workers, we were all tethers, but they didn't use the word tether. They used another word. In the same way today, according to FBA, Caribbean blacks from everywhere are all tethers. Unless, of course, you don't undermine them, which is the same as the white man saying, as long as you don't take our jobs. As long as you don't take our jobs, we're good. But what these people are doing is the same thing. But let's continue reading. It says James Gregory calculates decade by decade migration volumes in his book, The Southern Diaspora. Black migration picked up from the start of the new century, with 204,000 leaving in the first decade. The pace accelerated with the outbreak of World War I and continued through the 1920s. By 1930, there were 1.3 million former Southerners living in other regions. The Great Depression wiped out job opportunities in the Northern Industrial Belt, especially for African Americans, and caused a sharp reduction in migration. In the 1930s and 1940s, increasing mechanization of agriculture virtually brought the institution of sharecropping that had existed since the Civil War to an end in the United States, causing many landless Black farmers to be forced off of the land. As a result, approximately 1.4 million Black Southerners moved north or west in the 1940s, followed by 1.1 million in the 1950s, and another 2.4 million people in the 1960s and early 1970s. By the late 1970s, as deindustrialization and the Rust Belt crisis took hold, the Great Migration came to an end. But in a reflection of changing economics, as well as the end of Jim Crow laws in the 1960s, and improving race relations in the South in the 1980s and early 1990s, more Black Americans were heading south than leaving that region. African Americans moved from the 14 states of the South, especially Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia. So, the main point here is that, we can make a distinction between immigrants that move here from another country, or and migrants that move here from that move from state to state within a country. We can try to draw distinctions if we wish, and state that because you were within a country moving from one state to another, that makes you more foundational. But I believe that's a bunch of goobly goop. I think, you know, migration has been a part of human history since the beginning of human history. And, people move from one place to the other for the exact same reason, whether it's from one country to another, or from one state to another, or from one city to another within a state. People move for the same exact reasons, um, for a better life. And so no migrant is more noble than any other migrant, because at the end of the day, we are all migrants. And Black Americans are migrants to the North, and the North is where the industrialization of America took place. And that is what America is built on. And Black Americans are migrants to that as well. So they are no more foundational than the immigrants that came to the North looking for those industrial jobs as well. Um, I keep saying it, Black Americans were foundational to the slavery that existed in the South, but not foundational, or no more foundational than anyone else, to the industrialization that was going on in the North. And The argument can be made and has been made that, the white folks that came back for their jobs after the World War saw themselves as being more foundational to those jobs and to America simply because they're just coming back from fighting a war. And so, again, at the very least, Black Americans are no more foundational than anyone else. Um, and, an argument can be made on the flip side, if you ask me. Um, but who's asking me, right? um, but yeah, that is fundamentally what I want to point out. Them same white folks saw Black immigrants from the Caribbean and everywhere else the same way they saw Black migrants from the South. These were just people that were there taking their jobs who did not deserve their jobs because they just came from fighting for their country. And because of that, they were more foundational to the country and more deserving of those positions. And they didn't see a difference between immigrant Blacks and migrant Blacks from the South. We were all tethers in their eyes, if you will. Um, and now, the only difference with them and FBA is that where they were protecting their jobs from immigrants and migrants, FBA is really only concerned with protecting what they call their tangibles, whatever those tangibles are, which I can guarantee you are not jobs. You know, these tangibles are free stuff. Um, so again, and for that reason, I think jobs are more foundational to America than tangibles. Um, and so, you know, I think for that reason, again, just because of their claims and what they're claiming, that makes them less foundational than everyone else. But at the very least, I'm gonna say we're all foundational to this place, um, and we all have a stake in creating what has been the greatest country in the world. So when they accuse you of being an immigrant who left his country, who left his homeland, um, and caused a brain drain on their homeland. Um, remind them that they are migrants as well, who left their homeland as well. The South was their home that they left for the same reason that Caribbeans left their homeland. And if Caribbean people leaving Jamaica today is causing a brain drain on Jamaica, it's causing no more of a brain drain on Jamaica than an American migrant moving from New York to Chicago or from Baltimore to New York. Um, when people move from state to state, we don't complain about brain drain. We just understand why people move, and it's for the same exact reasons why everyone moves. The exact same reasons. But we can rest assured that FBA are tethers too, and you know in calling us tethers, they are doing nothing more than simply taken from the playbook of the quote unquote white supremacists, as they call it, who looked at them as tethers when they migrated from the South. You know, um, they view immigrants the way, and I won't even call these people white supremacists. I'll call them what they would consider people to be white supremacists. Um, but they are looking at immigrants the same way that those white folks looked at them. Um, but for what I would say are way, and I've said it before, their reasons are way less noble than what the white folks was working with. The white folks were saying these people are taking our jobs. Um, and FBA is just about their tangibles, which is their reparations and their food stamps and their affirmative action. Like that's the stuff they're concerned about losing. Those white folks were concerned about losing their jobs, and they were losing their jobs. And they did look at those blacks from the South as tethers, for lack of a better word, that were there taking what was rightfully theirs. That was their complaint as well. And it led to tension the same way it's leading to tensions today, the same exact way, but they're taking from that playbook. And it wasn't just the white people that looked at immigrants or these migrants as tethers, but so did the black folks that lived up north, the blacks that were indigenous to the north, for lack of a better word. But the blacks that were living up north weren't very welcoming of this flood of migrants from the south that came up there. They had their concerns as well, and legitimate concerns. Um, there they were concerned with, just how uncultured the blacks from the South were. Because if you remember, according to Thomas Sowell, the culture of the blacks from the South was redneck culture. So when they moved to the North, they moved with that redneck culture, which wasn't very welcomed by even the blacks in the North. The blacks in the North, saw them as a problem too. They were eating on buses. They were, cursing publicly, just like public things they were doing in public was just, not ordinary for the North. But they brought that lifestyle up from the South, which, even native, even the blacks in the North were like, man, y'all making us look bad here. And y'all are just here making it bad for us. And they weren't very welcoming of these natives either. So even from the perspective of those blacks that lived in the North, the blacks that came in from the South were tethers as well, people who came in and were just messing stuff up for everybody. Yeah, because the blacks in the North felt like they were gonna start to be seen as those blacks from the South as well, that they were going to be, grouped together with them and start to get treated like them. Because again, they weren't very cultured. They were doing stuff that was bringing down the standard of living in the North in those communities. And there were just so many of them that came in, and so the blacks in the North weren't very welcoming of them either, and saw even them as tethers who were messing up what they had. Um, and so we should also, keep and remember that perspective as well, where FBA was seen by the blacks in the North and by the whites as being kind of invaders, as just immigrants, if you will. They didn't see them as much differently as they saw other immigrants that were coming in trying to take their jobs. But that's what they were seen as. When FBA say that they are foundational, we have to remind them that they are migrants as well. They are migrants to America as it is today, right? You can't be foundational to a place that you migrated to. You just can't. And you migrated to the North. And in migrating to the North, you migrated to what America really is, right? You migrated and started to help with the building of America, and you left to the North. But you were foundational. The South is really the foundation of Black Americans in terms of slavery, right? The South is foundational to slavery, and that's what Black Americans left to go to the North, right? So you're no more foundational than anyone else that immigrated here, because you all are migrants too. You're no more foundational simply because you are migrants as well. And that's pretty much the ultimate point here, is that We are all migrants, all of us, and all of us came here, and you moved in more numbers than anyone else. But we all came here looking for the same thing. And by here, I mean the North. We all came to the North looking for the same thing. And again, it's the North is the vision of what America is. America today is based on the vision of the North. What was happening in those industries in the North is what built America. And Black Americans, FBA, migrated to be a part of that building of America. So they are no more foundational than anyone else. The Confederacy that slavery was building died with the Civil War. The Confederacy is what slavery was building, and that's what slavery is foundational to. But they left that, and they left that the same way Caribbean immigrants left that, what was in the Caribbean, to come here to be a part of the foundation of something new. Yeah, and that's ultimately what I wanted to talk about with this video. And I think it's best that I just leave it there for now, at least. So I am planning on I do want to do a part 2 to this, because I am intrigued by this great migration. And there's a lot more to say about it. There's a lot more that has been said about it. So it's likely that I'm going to do a part 2 to this video. So please look out for it. Like this video. Please subscribe. Hit the notification. I plan on going live every now and then where you can ask AD anything. So, again, like, subscribe, hit the notifications, and share the video. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Blessings. Bless yourselves.
Recognize royalty, recognize it, recognize royalty, gotta recognize it, recognize royalty, like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty. I can feel, recognize royalty, I can see, recognize royalty, now I recognize royalty, royalty, I can see, recognize royalty, I can love, recognize royalty, now I recognize it. Royalty. I recognize passion. Never just the man with the title in his hand, with the vital in his hand, with the Bible in his hand. You never just the man with the scepter in demand, with the lecture in the stand, with the vector and the candle. Can you understand the grand from the texture of the hand? Hard at work, are you hard at work, working with the man? It's the ring of royalty. Crown him king, just a thing, letting loyalty ring. Bring frankincense and myrrh and other things. It's gold already blings from the highest that prizes no sins. Recognize the kings overruling commandments with the Trinity and the power it brings. When you recognize royalty, I feel it. I can see you. Yeah, I see it. I recognize now. Royalty. I can see you. I see it. And I'm in love now. I recognize your passion. Recognize royalty. Sunrise royally. Sitting on top of the world. I'm five morally. Status of a king for surely. Morally, we pop dumb things till we stop the impurity. We pop them just for recognition. Listen to the missionary on a mission with the visionary vision. Do you recognize intuition? I reel in men when I went out fishing. I tell you why they rocked the boat, cause they didn't understand what the prophet wrote. What's the conniption? Choose the Jews' crucifixion and refuse recognition at son child's christening in the mix of some. Insist they fix the system from malarkey back to my monarchy. Yeah, back above me. Don't soil my purple and blue, and I will recognize your royalty too. I can feel you. I feel it. I can see you. I can see it. Now I recognize now. It's your royalty. I can see you. I see it. I can love. And I'm in love now. I recognize your passion. Royalty. Royalty. Recognize it, recognize royalty.
Hey, peace. What's happening, everyone? What do I deal with?
Recognize royalty, recognize it, recognize royalty. Gotta recognize it, recognize royalty. Like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty. I can feel, recognize royalty. I can see, recognize royalty. Now I recognize royalty, royalty, royalty. I can see, recognize royalty. I can love, recognize royalty. Now I recognize it. Royalty, royalty. I recognize passion. That's the man with the title in his hand, with the vital in his hand, with the Bible in his hand. You never just the man with the scepter in demand, with the lecture in the stand, with the vector and the candle. Can you understand the man from the texture of the hand? Hard at work, are you hard at work? Working with the man who is the ring of royalty. Crown him king, just a thing, letting loyalty ring. Bring frankincense and myrrh and other things. It's gold already blings from the highest of prizes, no sense. Recognize the king's overruling commandments with the Trinity and the power it brings. When you recognize royalty, I feel it. I can see. Yeah, I see it. I recognize now. Royalty. I can see. I see it. I'm in love now. I recognize your passion. Recognize royalty.
So this video is about 3 reasons why FBA is pseudo. We're gonna talk about what I feel are 3 of the main reasons why I consider FBA to be pseudo. I'm sure I'll be able to think of more reasons, but for now, I'm gonna say these are the 3 main reasons that are present in my brain at this point. And so here they are, ladies and gentlemen, 3 reasons why FBA, Foundational Black Americans, are pseudo. The first reason why FBA is pseudo is what I think is the main reason that they are pseudo, and it's this whole idea of them being foundational. The idea is that FBA is foundational, Black Americans are foundational because America is built on slavery. But I challenge that idea because America is not built on slavery. The South is built on slavery. The Confederacy was built on slavery. Black Americans or people who identify as descendants of slaves, because not all Black Americans do, I don't think. But FBA and ADOS specifically identify as descendants of slaves. They have a slave lineage. Their lineage is all about slavery. But slavery was foundational to the Confederacy or to the South. Slavery was foundational to the Confederate States of America, which are the states in the South. The United States of America, the North, the states in the North were not built around slavery at all. So the question is, what was the economy of the North built around? And just a quick ask of ChatGPT. The question was, before the Civil War, what was the source of the economy of the North? And the response is, before the Civil War, the economy of the North was primarily industrial and diversified, unlike the South, which relied heavily on agriculture and slave labor. The key sources of the northern economy included: one, manufacturing and industry. The North experienced significant industrialization with factories producing textiles, iron, steel, and machinery. This industrial base was centered in cities like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. Two, trade and commerce. The North's extensive network of ports facilitated international trade and shipping. The region exported manufactured goods and imported raw materials and luxury items. Transportation and infrastructure. The North had a well-developed transportation network, including railroads, canals, example, the Erie Canal, and roads, which facilitated the movement of goods and people. Agriculture. While not as dominant as in the South, the North had small-scale farms producing food crops such as wheat, corn, and dairy products. These farms were often worked by free labor rather than enslaved people. Finance and banking. Northern cities like New York became financial hubs supporting industry and commerce with banking, investment, and insurance services. And last, six, immigration and labor. The North saw a significant influx of European immigrants, particularly from Ireland and Germany. These immigrants provided a labor force for factories, railroads, and construction. That one right there is important. Number six, immigration and labor. That was the source of the industries of the North, immigration, right? So immigration and the labor and the labor of immigrants is what fueled the economy of the North. Slavery, or the labor of slaves, is what fueled the economy of the South. So slavery is foundational to the South, to the Confederacy. The North has always been about industry. The North has always been about industry, about building railroads and building factories and moving people around. That was what the economy of the North was based on. And after the Civil War, it just expanded on that industrial base. Because, after the Civil War, everything was destroyed. And they had to rebuild. They did the Reconstruction. They rebuilt America. And the rebuilding of America had nothing to do with slavery. Nothing at all. Slavery had ended when America was reconstructed or rebuilt. So America is not built on slavery. America is built on the investment in industry or in industrialization. That's what America is built on. And here's the last thing that ChatGPT says. It says the northern economy's reliance on industry and free labor distinguished it sharply from the southern economy, contributing to the sectional tensions that eventually led to the Civil War. Right? So it was the South's reliance on slave labor that led to the Civil War. America is not built on slavery. America is built on industry and free labor, the free labor of immigrants. Immigrants are more foundational than slaves. So that for me is the main reason why foundational Black Americans, the idea of foundational Black Americans is pseudo. Is because at their very root, they are not foundational to America. They are foundational to the Confederacy. Slavery is foundational to the South, not the North. The North fought with everything to end slavery. And the North won. And the North was based on industry and free labor. So again, America is by no means built on slavery. And, if you're wondering where they got the money from to build these industries during the Reconstruction, that money didn't come from slavery. That money came from the government printing money. Like, the government made that investment. Remember, the government prints money, so the government doesn't need money from slaveholders. The money the wealth of slaveholders and the wealth from slavery was pretty much destroyed during the Civil War. It was pretty much destroyed. Slaveholders lost most of their wealth during the Civil War. Most of their wealth were the slaves themselves. The slaves were worth billions of dollars. So after the Civil War, when the slaves were free, the slaveholders lost their wealth. So America was not built on the wealth of slaveholders. America, again, was built on industry and the free labor of immigrants. So that's the first reason. The second reason why FBA is pseudo is because they promote a slave mentality. ADOS, the American descendants of slaves, they have a slave identity. Their identity is tied around being slaves. The foundational Black Americans, the foundational part is about slavery. So everything about FBA, ADOS is about a slave mentality. And, that pseudo, to walk around with a slave mentality is very pseudo. To walk around in 2025 calling yourself a freedman is pseudo. Slavery ended hundreds of years ago, and FBA promotes the idea of Black people identifying as slaves. And so that's the second reason why FBA is pseudo. The third reason why FBA is pseudo is because foundational Black Americans claim to have what's known as the Majorist spirit. And the Majorist spirit is what they call Mojo aura. They have the aura of Mojo, and Mojo is pretty much is voodoo. Mojo is magic. The root of Mojo goes back to Africa. Even though they claim they're not Africans, they don't want to be Africans, they're their own ethnic group, they still claim to have the spirit of Mojo, which goes back to Africa. So they're pseudo for that. But the main reason they're pseudo in this respect is the idea that they still hold on to this spiritual voodoo magic, casting spells, that they actually have those powers. They claim that it's that spiritual essence of Mojo that helped them to survive slavery and white supremacy. But we all know that voodoo and magic and spells, we all know that stuff is pseudo. At least I hope we all know that. So, the Majorist spirit, the spirit of Mojo, is the third reason why FBA is pseudo. So there you have it. The three main reasons why FBA is pseudo.
Recognize royalty, recognize royalty, gotta recognize royalty, like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty. I can feel, recognize royalty, recognize royalty, 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 I can see, recognize royalty, recognize royalty. recognize it. I recognize passion. Just the man with the title in his hand, with the vital in his hand, with the Bible in his hand. You never just the man with the scepter in demand, with the lecture in the stand, with the vector and the candle. Can you understand the brand from the texture of the hand? Hard at work, are you hard at work working with the man? It's the ring of royalty. Crown him king, just a thing, letting loyalty ring. Bring frankincense and myrrh and other things. It's gold already blings from the highest of prizes, no sins. Recognize the king's overruling commandments with the Trinity and the power it brings. When you recognize royalty, I feel it. Yeah, I see it. I recognize now royalty. I see it. Now I'm in love now. I recognize your passion. Recognize royalty. Sunrise royally. Sitting on top of the world. I'm five morally. Status of a king for surely. Orally we pop dumb things till we stop the impurity. We pop them just for recognition. Listen to the missionary on a mission with the visionary vision. Do you recognize intuition? I'm reeling men when I went out fishing. I tell you why they rocked the boat, cause they didn't understand what the prophet wrote. What's the conniption? Choose the Jews' crucifixion and refuse recognition at sunchild's christening in the mix some in some. Insist they fix the system from malarkey back to my monarchy. Yeah, back above me. Don't soil my purple and blue, and I will recognize your royalty too. I can feel you. I feel it. I can see you. I can see it. I recognize now. It's your royalty. I can see you. I see it. And I'm in love now. I recognize your passion.
Where you at?
Peace, Ron.
Hey, American Dream, where you at?
Peace, Ron. How are you?
Yeah, peace. Okay, what's your issue? You asked for the link. Let's get it.
Yeah. So when you first started the Candace video, you said you disagreed with her definition of racism.
Yeah.
Because she said black people were racist.
Right. Wait, no. I said it because she tried to equate black racist with white racism. Okay, she said there's I'm not even sure which term she used. Either she said black racist or black racism. She might have said I gotta rewind it. But anyway, when folks say black racist, yeah, you got individuals, you got white individuals, right? But then you got racism, okay, that acts that as one unit and it gets things done, it achieves a goal. So if you say black racists, now you can say black racists, but there are black racists. There are foundation Black American racists. But when you say racism, you got to prove that now. You got to show that we have an orchestrated system out here to deprive whites of American liberties. Okay, so then the burden of proof becomes on you now. But go ahead.
Is that only for Black Americans, or what about blacks in South Africa where they say there's a genocide against white people? Is that considered racism?
Is there a genocide against white people?
Yeah, they say there's that's what Trump said. That's actually there was one of the white guys who came with the South African president claimed that his own grandmother was attacked and had to leave. So I'm asking you.
Okay, so watch this. In Rwanda, with the Tutsis and the Hutus, was that racism or just a genocide? Go ahead, it's on you.
I would say it's both. I would say it was a genocide based on
They're
race.
the
I mean,
same.
the reason.
The same people. No, first of all, it wasn't. Wait, hold on, bro. Before you do this, let me caution you, bro. I know a lot of that history. Okay, it's on my channel publicly. I debated somebody on that, so I want to caution you. Okay, if you don't know the history,
like you're saying genocide can't be racism.
No, wait. Okay, no, I'm not. Look. What I'm saying is, it's called a genocide for a reason. Because genocides happen, it has nothing to do with racism. And it's more to that. So that's why it's called.
It can be. You're saying a genocide cannot be about racism?
Well,
Ron?
Okay. Wait, hold on. So when white folks did what they did to us in America, was that called a genocide? Was it called racist? Was it called racist or racism?
When they did what? When they enslaved black people?
Outright killed us. Was that a genocide? Was that
what
racism?
Are you talking about? Which event are you talking about?
Killings. White killing black people in America. If you don't know the history, just say you don't know it. But white folks killing black people outright. I
know what you're talking about. Like white people kill black people out of self-defense sometimes, and that's not racism.
Okay.
It depends on the situation.
Got it. I'm gonna help you out. I'm saying in the Jim Crow and earlier, or was that genocidal?
So
hold on. Wait. Okay. Yeah. So here's your problem. Wasn't it only one way?
Wasn't what only one way?
The killing, the murders,
the lynchings and stuff.
No, not just lynching.
For the most part, yes.
Hey, bro, listen. It's me. I said
for the most part, yes.
Okay, no. Okay, hold on. It's me. I'm just saying it's me. You won't, whatever you can get off on other people, it's not gonna happen over here. I'm saying you got one race killing another race for little to no reasons. Okay, you're not gonna pin me to a certain point, say lynchings. No, I'm talking about, I just said Jim Crow and earlier. So earlier, we're talking about the 1600s, 1500s. That wasn't lynching, senseless killings. So I'm saying, were those murders, were those genocidal or racism? Murders based on racism.
I wouldn't say they were genocide. I would say they were racism, but it wasn't genocide.
So why wouldn't they be called genocide?
Because for the most part, the people they were killing were, there was no concerted effort to kill all black people. The people that were being killed were people they thought looked at a white woman funny, stuff like that, just like isolated cases. There was no effort to go out and kill all black people.
I brought you to the 1600s or even earlier. I said so before. What you're talking about? You're talking about after emancipation, bro. You're talking about Jim Crow. I said Jim Crow up until like the 1500s. So those murders,
the 1600s, those murders of black people.
Yeah.
Well, in the 1600s, how many black people were in America in the first place during that time?
No. It don't matter. It could be two. If you kill two, if you kill the two remaining, is that racism or genocidal?
No, again, I don't think it's genocide.
Okay, no. Right. Good. That's your opinion. But other folks can look at it as a genocide. People have. That's the thing.
So you're saying a genocide. So you're saying racism can lead to genocide.
It can.
Okay, so I'm asking you, why is what's going on? Why is the genocide in South Africa not racism?
Okay, so for one, do you know the history of South Africa?
A little bit.
Okay, so now you just said stand your ground. You said that earlier. You said defending yourself, right? Did you earlier say defending yourself?
Yeah, I said if a white person kills someone in self-defense, it's not racism.
Right. Exactly. So if somebody's occupying my land and I finally get enough strength, you could laugh. I mean, you just a coon. I mean, whatever you're telling.
So hold on. So you're saying
wait, I'm not done. I didn't say it yet. I'm saying if you're occupying my land illegally, are these white folks in South Africa occupying that land legally or illegally?
Legally.
Legally? They're occupying it?
Yeah, they own the land legally, yes.
Okay, explain how they own the land legally. Go ahead. Who they bought it from?
Because they have titles and deeds to their land.
No, but who sold the land to them?
Who sold the land to them?
Right.
At the time, must have been at the time. It must. At the time, I would guess it was the South African government.
Okay, so South African. So okay, so that's your. Because I'm going. You know, I'm gonna do. It's called fact check session. So you believe white folks got a hold of South Africa by deed? It was sold to them.
No, I'm saying the white people in South Africa that own their farms have deeds and titles to their land and their farms.
I'm sure they do.
They own their property legally.
I got it. No, bro, you cook. Okay, what I'm saying is, when they owned the land, okay, when they got control of the land, was it sold to them or did they take it violently? That's the question, bro. It's not that deep.
The people in South Africa today,
No.
I don't think they took. Hey,
bro. Okay, listen, bro. That's what I'm trying to say. Is me. I don't know who you're talking to. You're saying today, brother. I'm saying they got control of the land originally. I'm taking you back. Okay, so when they got control of the land originally, before the modern day South Africans, obviously they didn't do shit. But I'm saying they just inherited stolen land. I'm saying when their ancestors got hold of the land, did they buy it from South Africans or did they take it illegally or violently? Using that in the same breath. Go ahead.
I'm not that familiar with the history. I would, if I were to guess.
Okay. No. I'd rather not. I don't do that here, bro. I don't do guess.
So, Ron, bro, can I ask you a question, Ron?
Wait. Okay, sure.
Are you suggesting that the native Indians today can have a genocide against all Americans and that wouldn't be considered, and you wouldn't have a problem with that? Because we took their land illegally.
Stop.
We took their land, so they would have a right to just come to your house and just kill you and say, "This is mine."
I got it. So is
that what you're saying?
Okay, so dude, you could just ask me. You're not saying that's what you're saying. I don't see. When I ask you a question, I don't say, "Is that what you're saying?" I just ask you. I don't think you're going to say anything more secure than what I'm going to say. I'm confident in myself in my research. Now, you jump from South Africa to America, and I could deal with America a little. I could deal with that. But let's stay in South Africa first, because that's what we were talking about. You brought South Africa. I didn't bring it up.
I'm talking about South Africa today, and you're going back to South Africa 300 years ago. I'm talking about the whites in South Africa today that own their property that are being killed. Is that race? And they're being killed because they're white.
Wait.
Is that racism? And you're asking me about 300 years ago.
Dude, I don't want to mute you. Well, you entertained it, okay, until you figured you got cooked. So you didn't say, "Hey, man, let's just deal with today and let's deal with modern." You entertained how they got it originally, and you said that they bought it.
You asked me about it, Ron. Okay. You're the one that asked me about it.
Okay, cool. So what I'm saying is,
I didn't entertain anything. I'm entertaining your questions.
I got it. Cool. It's cool. I'm asking you. All right, we could deal with the Native Americans later. We're in South Africa, so I'm saying, the white folks who are occupying even modern day, are they occupying it legally? Meaning that, okay.
Yes, they're there legally.
Okay.
They're South African
according to who?
They have titles and deeds to their property.
Okay, so you're gonna just talk. I gotta mute you. So I'm trying to have a honest discussion, but with Tether it's just impossible. Okay, so I gotta mute you. So he's saying amongst themselves is legal. I mean, there's no what they say, amongst thieves there's no robbery, right? There's no honor amongst thieves. Okay. So if you took something illegally and you pass it down and draft up legal documentation and say, yeah, it's right. Yeah, of course, in your mind is legal, because the drafting of legal documentation came after you stole it. So right now, if I steal 100 TVs from Walmart and I do an arrangement with American Dream to sell it to him legally, now I do a contract. Hey, man, buy these 100 TVs from me for at a set price, and he does it. Yeah, he contractually legally bought the TVs off me. Okay, but the owner, Walmart, where the TV was stolen, that they have the best claim to the TVs. South Africa by the sword and the gun and then amongst yourselves draft legal documentation and say, hey, this is now legally possessed. This is legally owned now. Yeah. So when the Walmart, which will be the South Africans in this analogy, say, nah, that's ours. And we want it. And now that we're in a political, see what happens. See, he don't know South Africa. He don't know the history. And he said he didn't. That's why it's unfair for me to talk to these guys. He don't know the history. So like he didn't even know when South Africa came out of apartheid. He doesn't know. So when they regained power, obviously they're gonna want their stuff back. Okay? And they're not gonna buy it. They're not gonna buy it. They're not gonna arrange some deal. Y'all gotta go. Like how Walmart would say, hey man, I'm not about to arrange no deal with you to get my TVs back. You gotta go and you gotta give it back. Or you could go to jail or, you know, whatever repercussions and legal things necessary to do. That's how we're gonna get it. So you can't have an honest discussion with these guys. I do it for you guys. I do it to show you guys. I already know you can't have an honest discussion with these guys. Okay, and okay. So that's not a genocide. That's them giving them a deadline to get out the country. Okay, look, we regained our country politically. We got the numbers, we got an army now, and we're in control of certain regions. Okay, so we want our land back, we want all this stuff back. And they're giving South Africans a deadline. Like, hey man, we ain't about to negotiate. This is ours, get out. That's not a genocide. That's like, hey, you got a deadline, leave, or this is the consequence. And I bet you, if we look into it more, I bet you those white folks in South Africa was trying to kill them as well. It's like probably mini war. If we look into it, it's like a little mini war going on. But this guy trying to justify white folks getting possession in South Africa is crazy. Okay, that's crazy, and that just goes to show that you can't have an honest discussion. So then he bring it to.
Can I say something or
no? Because I want to address America now, Native American. So you're not gonna let me say nothing. You're just gonna... yeah. Well, you weren't letting me say nothing. You were talking over me, and I'm trying to talk, and you kept going.
I wasn't talking. I was talking over you because you was cutting me off as soon as I opened my mouth, bro.
No. You ask questions, and then you.
Come on, Ron, why you gonna have me come up here and then just be cutting me off and muting me, bro?
Hey, bro, you ask questions, then you stop. Okay, so now I want to address your Native American thing.
That's what you just did.
I was talking about South Africa. Okay, so Native Americans, the difference between them and South Africans, that the Native Americans signed a peace treaty. So they signed off whatever genocidal thoughts they would have. They signed off to a peace. You know, peace means peace. It don't mean war or violence. They signed off to a peace treaty to not act in a war manner or a violent manner. They signed a peace treaty. Okay.
So how did apartheid end?
Do you know when it ended? Do you know when it ended?
I'm asking you, how did apartheid
right. So,
end?
Okay,
Wasn't there some type of...
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Hey, bro. I'm asking you back. You asked what I'm asking you back. When did it end? What year?
I'm not sure.
Oh my God, dude. What are we doing, man? Like, listen, you said a minute ago, you said
just
you're not...
answer the question. How did apartheid end?
I know. I'm not going to answer the question.
Wasn't it an agreement between blacks and whites?
Bro, who's in power? That's like saying Jim Crow and other things when black folks own something.
Regardless, it was an agreement between them, and they came to an agreement the same way the whites and Native Indians came to an agreement.
Nah, dude.
I don't understand what it is. Ron, that's not even what I came in to ask you about. Can I just, because I can't stay much longer.
Yeah, but please, I want to continue my show, and you kind of like ruin it.
I want you to listen very, very carefully.
Tell the youth them to be strong. You can't tell the youth them to preach wrongs. While you try it on these lands, just remember every man is equal. Yeah. Each one, and a Father God, him a the only done. So make we peace and reason. Smoke trees on the ends, all the deep meds. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's always surprise. And I just so it go. It's a government no have no heart, them no care about poor people. Yeah, bigger heads no love people again. Them most are than little of them. You see friends now reason again. Vex through whistle of them. What time he hurt me to see how the face. Deal with the eagle of them. Regular me see it a pain. Regular me see it a pain. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just so it go. It's a government no have no heart, them no care about poor people. Social commentary, drop the one principle you don't know. The global will come and do it. Some people life every day it's stress. The high price from JPS, that topic is currently. Jah alone him a go help me. We need food that we know healthy. We are feeling pain, beg you protect me. In our life we have no fenfe. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just so it go. It's a government no have no heart, them no care about poor people.
Hey, peace, Vendetta. Hang on a second, all right? Let me get back to my main stage and stop this video. Vendetta, can you hear me?
Asana helps you handle it. AI makes it easy to hand off routine
Just give me 1
tasks
second.
and stay focused on important work. That's how work gets handled. Visit us at asana.com.
Yesterday, my publicist hit me up saying at the folks at News Nation, that's a cable network.
Give me 1 second, Vendetta. Just give me 1 second. Hey, blessings, Vendetta. Thanks for coming in. KD, blessings to you as well. I'm gonna start with Vendetta since he asked for the link. What's on your mind, Vendetta?
I wanted to ask you a question about, your content and how you approach. I wanted to ask, what do you look for in this content, this type of content, in your engaging with others? What are you looking for?
What am I looking for in my content? I think the main thing I'm looking for is to because you guys refer to Caribbeans and Africans as tethers, and that's pretty disrespectful.
That's untrue.
So
that's untrue. Again? That's not true.
It's untrue that it's disrespectful to call immigrants tethers?
No.
So what's untrue?
No. Untrue is the statement that we call immigrants tethers.
Okay, you call certain immigrants tethers. Is that more true?
You see now. You see, this is why I asked the question.
Hold
Right?
on. Let me. Is it still untrue if I say you call certain immigrants tethers? Is
Yes.
that still untrue?
Yes. Because the
That's still
context
untrue.
matters. No. Let
So that is a
me.
true statement. You do call certain immigrants tethers.
Certain. Yes.
Right. Well, I
The
know for a
first
fact.
initial. Hold on.
Hold on, Vendetta. I know for a fact that I am one of those immigrants that you consider a tether. I know that
Why do
for
you
a
say that?
fact. Because
Why do
given
you
what I
say that?
understand, to be the definition of tether, I fit that category.
Okay. Okay.
So
Cool.
I know
Now let me.
you're referring to me as a tether, and I'm
No.
insulted. And so
Well, listen. Hold on. Listen. Calling a thief a thief, right? He may be insulted, but calling something for what it actually is, the individuals, that no one is upset by the the personage of an individual who commits the act, and no one's bothered by his offense. So
okay, so
therefore,
you
if
say
you
you're
hold
calling
on,
people
don't cut me
tethers.
off.
You're so
Let me finish. What I'm
go
saying
ahead.
is, if you know what a tether is, as you say, right? You haven't described it to me, but as you say, as you know and understand what a tether to be, if you say you fit that description, right? No one will be bothered with you feeling disrespected because for you about being called that, because this is the actions you take, right?
Okay,
Now,
so hold on. So you said that um, I'm referred to as a tether because you're just calling it as it is.
no, I
And then
didn't
your
say that.
original,
I didn't say that.
I could have
See,
sworn you said that. You're
I
just
didn't
calling
just
it
say
as it
that.
is.
I didn't just say that. That's the context of what I'm saying is I wouldn't be upset at I wouldn't be bothered by your offense if you know what you're doing and you're doing it.
Right, but it's not as if like my opposition to reparations, for example, I'm not doing it just to disrespect Black Americans.
But
Like that's not
regardless,
what
it's
I think I'm
disrespectful.
doing it.
Which if you're into
Okay,
sabotage
so
and undermining, you're a tether.
okay, and according to you, so to answer your question, the only reason I'm asking you this is to answer your question of what is my intention. My
Uh-huh.
intention is to just call it the way I see it. The same way you feel like you have the right to call me a tether and you're just calling it the way you see it. When I do what I do, the reason I do what I do is for the same exact reason, just to call it the way I see it.
Okay, now that leads me to the next question I wanted to ask. Right? Oh,
Yeah, you can
let
ask
me
one
let
more
me let
question
me
and then
set
I'm
the
gonna
stage.
go to KD, okay?
All right, let me set the stage with this. The other day, I heard you going back and forth to the debate you stated that wouldn't white people that came to Americas during the 1600s wouldn't they be considered immigrants? And it made me ask the question to myself about you, if you uh do you do you have cognitive bias? So you're it made me think, are you just looking for things that appeal to what you want to believe, as opposed to are you actually trying to figure out what's the facts and what's not, and align yourself with that? Because what I
But
went on the face of what you were
the white
stating.
folks, the
Let me
Europeans that
finish
came here
so you
did
understand where I'm
migrate
coming
here.
from. Let me
I'm
finish
trying to
so you can
understand what you're
understand where I'm
saying because
coming
it
from.
sounds as if hold on, Vendetta. It sounds as if you're saying that the white Europeans that came here weren't migrants.
They weren't, and they're not considered. I researched it. They're not
What do you
considered
mean they're not?
migrants because, let me finish. They're not considered migrants or immigrants because they're considered colonizers. So, as when you research it, it shows you that although they both have similar action in traveling from abroad from one place to another, the purpose of the travel is different. So, the colonizer descriptively is basically a person who's coming. They're coming to conquer and take something from someone else and displace others by whatever means. Therefore, that is not considered by description an immigrant.
Right. So if Caribbeans came here and took over from Black Americans, Then we wouldn't be
You would be a
immigrants anymore.
colonizer. You would
We
be a
would not. We would
colonizer.
then.
You would be a
So we would
colonizer.
stop being immigrants and start being
If
colonizers.
that was your purpose, if your purpose is to come and take by any means necessary and displace, and especially you do it through sabotage and subterfuge, you are
But
a colonizer.
isn't that what you
That means
accuse
you're
us
being
of?
nice by calling you a
Isn't that
tether
what y'all
instead of a
accuse us of?
colonizer.
Hold on, isn't that what y'all accuse us of when you say we're
Not
trying to
all of you.
replace y'all?
No, not all of you. Only
Just the
tethers.
tethers. Just right.
Just the tethers.
So the tethers are not immigrants. We're colonizers.
Yeah, you're tethers. You don't have the power to be
So, but
colonizers.
we're not okay. So, but we're not immigrants. What do you mean? You said we're
You don't have the
replacing
power to be
y'all.
colonizers.
You
You
just
don't
said
have to be. You
we
don't
came
have
here
the
to
power to
replace
be
y'all.
colonizers. You don't
You
have
said
the
we
power to
came.
be
Isn't that what the
colonized.
colonizer did? They came and
The
replaced the
colonizers
Indians.
were effective in doing so, right? Through power and force, through force of arms and political means and organization. You don't have that as a tether.
Then why are you complaining that we're trying to replace y'all if you know we don't have the power
We're
to?
talking about
So
your
you're just
attempts.
complaining for
Excuse
no
me.
reason.
No, we are
So hold
talking
on,
about your
you
attempts.
excuse me. No, you excuse me.
We're talking about
You're
no. Well,
complaining.
excuse me.
Hold on.
I am
Vendetta.
telling you what I'm saying
I'm
instead of
really
allowing you to
trying to
tell me
not
what I'm
mute you.
saying.
I'm really trying to not go Ron's route and mute you.
I don't care.
So
You can do that.
you don't care. Okay,
I
so I'm
don't.
gonna go to KD. You sit tight. I'm gonna go to KD.
Ooh.
If KD is even still here, did KD leave?
No, he left. But
KD
you
left.
can do what you do. You can do your
No,
thing.
KD, he
I
just went to the
apologize
back
for coming
chat.
to the intro.
Let me let him in. No, you can hold tight if you want to talk. I just want you to, you know what I mean, relax a little bit because you're kind of over excited. So just relax a
No, I'm
little
not.
bit.
I'm not
We don't
overexcited.
have to argue. I prefer to
We're
have
not.
conversations.
I
Okay,
do. I
so
just like to
just
finish
hang
my
tight. Let me
point
see
before
what
you interrupt me.
right. Let me see what's on KD's mind. KD, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
I can't complain at all. What's on your
Yes.
mind?
Yes, sir, man. I just wanted to come on, man, and let you know, man, you're doing a really good job exposing the FBA many contradictions and just weird stuff that's going on online. We definitely need some anti-propaganda people like yourself doing what you do. So I just came over here, man, and just, shout you out, big you up. You know what I mean? You're doing a good job, man. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I'm hearing you well. Let me set myself up better so I can hear you even better. My headphones just went out on me, so just give me a quick second. Um, yeah. Say something real quick.
Can you hear me? Testing,
Yes,
testing.
sir. There you are.
Okay,
Yeah, I hear you. I
okay.
hear you perfect.
All right, perfect, man. So yeah, man. I just to repeat, man. I just came on here really to just big you up, man. Give you your flowers. I think you're doing a good job exposing a lot of the FBA many contradictions that's floating around on the internet right now. And we need some anti-propaganda people like yourself doing what you do to just call out a lot of the BS that's going on because it's completely and utterly ridiculous. And it's really some CIA federal agent stuff that's going on out here, man. So I just
Yeah.
appreciate what you do.
Oh man, don't think what you're saying goes unheard or unappreciated. It's really appreciated because normally I only get I've only recently started going live and normally I only get people like Vendetta that are here to what I mean to interrogate me. I really do appreciate the fact that you're appreciating what's being done because I do think it's important work to get done. Absolutely, and I think that what you said kind of answers Vendetta's first question as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think it's just pretty much to kind of even the playing field a little bit because me personally, I think FBA are the ones that started this whole rift and I think they started this whole rift over reparations, which I think is so shameful. And so again, I appreciate that you appreciate what you're hearing and seeing.
Well, most definitely, man. Most definitely. Yeah, you're gonna get attacked a lot because a lot of these dudes, they're getting paid and money's on the table and so and they fall into the trap. And I just want to make this distinction too. There's a very big difference between Black American people and FBA. FBA is Tariq Nasheed's fan club. As you see, I got like a picture of him on here with his dreads or whatever it is he was doing. Um, but it's really Tariq Nasheed's fan club. You'll find that a lot of these guys, they just regurgitate Tariq Nasheed's talking points verbatim. They don't really have any they don't really have any legitimate original opinions about what's going on, you know? So it's just Tariq Nasheed's talking points, even from the word tether, they're just regurgitating Tariq Nasheed's when he does what he does on his channel. Which if you follow his channel or you look at it, or and you go and you look at the last 25 videos, 20 of the 25 videos are about Black immigrants, not white immigrants or Asian immigrants or Hispanic immigrants, but about Black immigrants. So, so yeah, man,
Yeah,
keep doing what
absolutely.
you're doing, bro.
It's as if they totally forgot about white supremacy. Um, and I agree with you. I think black Americans play from the take from the Pan African playbook, and FBA take from the white supremacist playbook. I think everything they do is very similar to how white supremacists operate. They have a whole supremacist air about them, as if they're better than everyone else. And I think the reason that is because they've been around white folks forever. And I think they actually, if you read Thomas Sowell's work, he says that their whole culture is taken from white redneck culture. And I think they have actually internalized that white redneck supremacist attitude, um, and that's what they're espousing. But they come off as just rednecks. So I absolutely do agree that there's a difference between Black Americans and FBA. Um, but yeah, thanks for making that distinction as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it looks like Vendetta left. Vendetta couldn't take it anymore, so it looks like he dropped off. Yeah, he's in the chat going at it. But it is what it is. I didn't really plan on if is there anything else you wanted to talk about, KD? I'm
Yeah,
only
let me.
entertaining people that come up. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Let me mention this as well, and you can look this up too. Um, the concept of the FBA principle. There's actually a white racist person named John Tanton. Who have you heard about John Tanton before?
No.
Okay, so John Tanton is a white
How
racist
do you
and a
spell his last name?
eugenicist.
Tantin.
Tanton.
Okay.
Tanton. So this gentleman is a white racist, a eugenicist, and also and he was a guy that was very much anti-immigration. And the reason he's anti-immigration is because he believes that the white race is becoming the minority in the country. All right, that was his entire um, ideology, right? So what he did was he created front organizations in order to promote immigration of white immigrants and to stop immigration of black immigrants, right? And it makes sense if you think about it. He wanted
How long ago was
white
this?
people. This was probably back in the 1990s, 1990s, maybe
Okay.
1980s, something along those lines. So that was his premise. So he created a bunch of front organizations. One of the front organizations that he created was an organization called FAIR. Um, and this organization's purpose literally was to, stop black immigration. So FAIR actually has a bunch of subsidiary companies that work under it. That actually, and one of these subsidiary companies, um, the founder of ADOS, Yvette Carnell, actually sits on the board of one of these subsidiary companies that this white racist guy, John Tanton, originally started and funded, right? And these organizations, a lot of them they're going on to this day, of course. So ADOS is a branch of one of those front organizations that John Tanton originally started. And if you know about ADOS, then you know that Tariq Nasheed got the very ideas and principles that he uses today from ADOS. He literally stole the idea from Yvette Carnell, and then repackaged it into this FBA thing, right? So that's really what you're seeing right now. That's why it sounds a lot like white supremacist talking points. It's because they are white supremacist talking points, you know,
Oh, that's very
directly from a
interesting.
white supremacist. Absolutely. I don't even like the word white supremacist. I rather just call them white racists, but that's because they are. So I just wanted to,
Oh,
say that too, and for you to look this gentleman up, I think you could, it would make for a very interesting topic for sure.
yeah, it sounds really interesting. It just sounds really interesting. It kind of reminded me of, in a way, Marcus Garvey meeting with the KKK.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting. That is
Yeah.
very interesting. Um,
Their
what do
roots.
you think about the boycott that they are starting, the boycott against African stores? And are you Caribbean by any chance?
So I was born and raised here in America, but my parents are Jamaican, both my mother and father. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think about the African store boycott, and how long do you think before it spreads to become a Caribbean boycott as well?
Well, my understanding of it is that it actually is both Caribbean and African boycott. My understanding
Really?
of it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's news to me.
yeah, that's my understand from what I've been seeing online. It's boycott everything that is not FBA, that's black. But of
Wow.
course, there's no boycott of any of the white organizations. The Targets, the WalMarts, the Macy's, these other stores that black people like to shop at. There's no boycott of the Asian nail salons, or any of these other things, the Indian corner stores. There's no boycott of any of those. But anyway, I say all that to say the very idea and is just ridiculous, completely and utterly ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. There's no premise behind it. There's no. It's ludicrous. Yeah, man, absolutely ludicrous. Like you're boycotting African stores? What?
Yeah, there was a time when, they act as if, like, I think they act as if black immigrants took over their holidays, like took over Juneteenth and all of these other holidays. But we were actually invited to come to those events. And there was a time when black Americans were decked out in their African gear, and Africans didn't force them to do that. They chose to do that by, on their own. But now it's like they want absolutely nothing to do with Africa, as if Africans kind of force themselves on them. And I don't see where that's true at all. I think, if anything, it was their Pan-African dreams is what they use to invite Africans into their celebrations as well, and to see that switch, it's just really interesting. And I can't help but think it's going to be to their disadvantage, politically. If they want to delineate on their own, they're going to lose political power, because their numbers are going to go down by millions. And so, which politician is going to be catering to them anymore? Because their numbers just aren't going to be as great. So I do think it's going to be to pretty much to their advantage, and to all Black Americans' advantage, disadvantage, including the immigrants as well. And I can't see this as a winning move for anyone. And I don't think that they're really concerned with that. They just come off as really selfish and pompous in a way, and just how they feel like they are better than everyone else. It's just so weird to me, because they're at the bottom of every metric, right? Of every metric, they're at the bottom when it comes to IQ, income, they're at the bottom, but they act as if they're better than everyone else. And the only thing they use is, oh, y'all stole our hip hop, or y'all trying to steal our dancing. And I'm like, if that's all you have to claim is hip hop and dancing, like, you might as well just sit down, because you're at the bottom of everything else. And why do you think everybody is trying to steal what you have when you don't really have much worth stealing? It's just so interesting to me. It's just weird to me. I don't want to come off as if I'm, you know, doing too much, but but they're really starting to get under my 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 skin with just all the negativity that they've been pushing and just the anti-immigrant thing. Just they literally want to call ICE on any black immigrant. They don't care whether you're a citizen or not. They want to call ICE on you just to turn your life upside down. And it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing.
Yeah, and I think that's why I want to make the, I definitely want to reemphasize the distinction of between Black Americans and FBA. FBA in no way, shape, form, or fashion is a representation of Black America. They are Tariq Nasheed's fan club of coons, sellouts, and idiots, really, at the end of the day, because all they're really doing is regurgitating Tariq Nasheed's lyrics. That's all they're really doing. I used to be really heavy into the boxing community, and at the time that I was doing videos, there was this fighter, Errol Spence, right? And it was these fighters, these fans of Errol Spence. They were going back and forth for everybody about how Errol Spence was going to beat Terrence Crawford. I don't know if you follow boxing at all, but anyway,
Absolutely.
oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah,
good. So
man.
that
I'm a big fan.
Okay, okay. Well, then that makes it easier. So you know that during that time, everybody was pro Errol Spence. They said that he was going to knock out Terrence Crawford, and and these dudes were just regurgitating, just misinformation over and over and over again about Earl. Earl was going to beat Terrence Crawford. They had absolutely no basis to believe that, but they kept regurgitating the same information over and over again until after the fight. You know, their entire tune changed, right? And they kept making excuses. Anyway, I say all that to say is that these people are just fans of a particular person. They don't really have an ideology. They don't really have any knowledge of anything that they're talking about. All they're really doing is parroting what Tariq Nasheed says. Tariq Nasheed himself has knowledge of some of the things that he's talking about, but he's clearly sold out to a white funded organization, and I don't know the name of whatever the funded organization is, in order to make money. And he pretty much sold his name and reputation to these white organizations in order to regurgitate the garbage that he's regurgitating. Is literally what it
Yeah, and
is.
for
So it's
some
just
reason, and it's
mhm.
interesting that for some reason they refuse to claim him. Like they're like, "Oh, we don't have a leader." Yes, you do. And I'm like, I think it's something in their conscience that they know Tariq Nasheed is a scammer. Like they kind of know intuitively that this man is a scammer and that he's all he's really doing is macking and pimping them. But and that's why but they're in denial of that. And so they just say, "Oh, he's not our leader." But they talk just like he talks. They say they're what he says they are. They admit to being whatever he says they are. They try to stay on his code. And so it's just such a weird scenario where they are they accept something that they're kind of ashamed of in a way, which is
Yeah,
just so weird.
it's very
They're
weird.
such
It's
a weird bunch.
it's fanboyism, it's just like, we live in the age right now where celebrities for some reason hold a lot of the influence among the youth. So this is just another example of that. Tariq Nasheed is an influencer and they hang on his every word. And that's all it really is. None of the stuff makes sense. And if you go back to Tariq Nasheed 5, 10 years ago, oh, he was a Pan-Africanist. This man was talking about Africa. He was talking about, I mean, complete 180 from what he's
He was
talking
a
about now.
hotep. Tariq Nasheed
Yeah,
is a hotep Black American. He thinks we're Egyptians. He thinks he's an ancient Egyptian. Like he's in hotep. And uh, I
he
mean,
was
if
he,
that
he was
wasn't
trying to get citizenship in Africa. He was like talking about the right to
wow,
vote, and
I
this
didn't
man
know
was
that.
trying to get citizenship there in Africa. Now all of a sudden he's anti-African. Come on, man. This dude
Wow.
clearly got paid. He clearly got paid. He's clearly an op. He doesn't believe any of the stuff that he's saying. He's just saying whatever he got to say in order to make whatever money that he's making. You know.
Yeah.
The evidence is online too. There are people that have posted videos where, he's singing a completely different tune than what he's singing right now. And look, I'm looking at the chat right now. Look at these dudes mad. Am I wrong though?
Yeah.
Am I lying about what I'm saying? Plenty of videos exposing this dude. But yeah,
Yeah,
man,
they can
it's
stay in the
all
chat mad.
orchestrated.
I'm inviting them to hit the link, but they're refusing to. So they can stay in the chat and be mad. Um, I'll be impressed when they hit the link and come up and speak their minds. Um, so they can do
Yeah,
whatever they want.
yeah, and
Where do you
if
think
they
this
do,
is going to end up? Where do you think this is going to end? How do you think this is going to end?
I think it's gonna fade away eventually. Like I said, we need more anti-propaganda people like yourself who speak out against these kinds of things because they're silly. And when even mildly smart people stop and think about it for a second, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, this is dumb. What are we talking about for real?" And then it's gonna be on to the next. It's just kind of like the wave right now. So I don't think it really ultimately will go anywhere. Hopefully, and this is what I'm hoping that with people learning more about their history and they're learning more about the things that are being done in order to kind of dissipate the energy, I'm hoping that it'll kind of morph into something constructive, because at the end of the day, like we're having these conversations about who created hip hop, and I mean, these are nonsense. I mean, who owns hip hop? Who owns these institutions? Who owns these industries, these trade lines? Who owns these things? Let's figure out how we can get ownership of these things, right? I'm hoping that conversation comes about once we figure out that all this other stuff is a distraction and just complete nonsense.
Yeah, it's weird to me how similar the two conversations are. The conversation about them claiming that them and only them created hip hop is so similar to the idea of them saying that them and only them created built America. It is such a similar, and the same thing with America. Like you said, I think you were saying that it's really white folks that control hip hop. Is those the people that are building hip hop are those white executives that decide which artists to sign, which music to push. They're really the ones that created hip hop for what it is today and how negative it is. And it's the same way as white folks that built America. But FBA want to take credit for both things. And I think they're just really just so off the mark. It's ridiculous. And in terms of where I think it's gonna go, part of what I have to concern myself with and the stuff that I worry about is that I don't really want to go too hard on FBA because I know that if I go too hard on FBA, I'm going to end up insulting a lot of Black Americans. And I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Those Black Americans that aren't even down with that FBA crap. I don't want to go too hard on them where I say something that ends up being where they feel like you're saying a little too much now, American Dream. Um, and so that's the one concern that I have. But I'm gonna speak my mind. They have no qualms speaking their mind and saying truth the way they think they see it. So I'm gonna do the same thing to level that playing field because I do believe that it definitely needs to be leveled. And I believe that, the same way they feel like tethers need to hear stuff, they need to hear certain stuff as well. And they are definitely playing from that white racist playbook. And again, I think it's because their culture, this ethnogenesis that they keep speaking about, their ethnogenesis comes from white redneck culture from down south. That's where their culture really comes from.
Mm, 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 mm. You know what, American Dream? I would say that you should go super hard on FBA, step on them, be as rude as possible, as long as you make the distinction between Black Americans and FBA. I think you'll be just fine, because the people that associate themselves with FBA or that call themselves FBA, those are really the facilitators of all the disrespect towards Black immigrants. right? You anybody who calls themselves Black Americans, you don't hear them talking like that or regurgitating this rhetoric. It's specifically FBA, and the reason for that is because FBA is Tariq Nasheed's fan club. They re-
Yeah,
they regurgitate his lyrics.
yeah,
I
and it
mean,
takes
like,
a certain character. Takes a certain type of character to be attracted to Tariq Nasheed and anything
yeah,
he's about. You
yeah.
kind of have to be. There has to be something lacking in you for you to be attracted to Tariq Nasheed's mission. I'm sorry I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, 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 perfect. No, that very well stated. Like, you know, and Tariq Nasheed, although he's a scammer, a con artist, and a charlatan, we could say at this point, because at the end of the day, he's trying to divide up the community. But the guy is charismatic. He can sound as though he knows what he's talking about, or make you believe, not even that he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he can speak in a way that sounds believable. So it attracts people.
Yeah, he's a
So I'm
pimp.
not even right. But the thing is, the people, they need to pimp, exactly. People need to do their own research, independent of Tariq Nasheed. They need to look at the other side of the coin and figure out whether or not fact check him on these things, right? His his historical point of view, it's so slanted these days. Like it's just like what? And I know because I listen to him too. I listen because I'm like, oh, what is he saying now? Because all the videos are like super disrespectful, super anti-immigrant, super anti-black. It's just like, all right, let me hear what he's saying now. And that's part of the problem too, because really, you give them too much attention, the views go up. But it's clearly what these dudes are saying now, so it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But listen, KD, my wife is looking at me funny. She's telling me I've been on for over 2 hours. She wants my attention. Um, so listen, man, I absolutely appreciate you coming up. I was wondering if there were anybody out there listening that was on my side that was really appreciated. So, you coming up here really, really makes my day. Um, thank you so much for coming up and joining me today. That's what's up.
Oh man, no problem, man. It was my pleasure. Again, keep doing what you're doing. Don't listen to the haters. And I'm not the only one. There's a whole other community of people out there who think the way I think, Black American people included, who share our views on this FBA thing. So just keep doing what you're doing and man, get to your wife because I know how that is too. Mine be looking at me crazy too. So
Yes, sir.
take care of
Absolutely.
your
Yeah,
business,
man.
man.
Yeah, man. Stay blessed.
All right, man.
All
You
right,
too.
everyone. Y'all be good, man. I'm gonna retire, but before I do, I'm gonna hit y'all up with a couple of tunes. You know what I mean? Y'all can bang your heads to these big tunes right here. This my boy Aladdin right here. We gonna send y'all out with Aladdin tune. So it go. You heard? That's what's up. Y'all be blessed.
I want you to listen very, very carefully.
Tell the youth them to be strong. You can't tell the youth them to preach wrongs. While you try it on these lands.
Hang on a second. Before I even do that, did y'all like the video? I don't mean did you like the video. I mean, did you like the video? Like the video and hit subscribe as well. And you know what I mean? Hit that notification bell. All of that helps. All of that helps for those that are trying to help. You heard? All right, y'all.
I want you to listen very, very carefully.
Tell the youth them to be strong. You can't tell the youth them to preach wrongs. While you try it on these lands. Just remember every man is equal. Yeah. Each one teach one. And a father God him a the only done. So make we ease and reason. Smoke trees span the ends. All the deep meds. Take a look at life. And don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just so it go, so it go, so it go, so it go. It's the government no have no heart, them no care about poor people. Yeah, bigger heads no love people again. Them more than little of them. We see friends now reason again. Vex through whistle a blame. More time it hurt me if you see how the face. Deal with the eagle of them. Regular me see it a pain. Regular me see it a pain. Take a look at life and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen and it's no surprise. And I just so it go, so it go, so it go, so it go. It's a government no have no heart, them no care about poor people. Social commentary. Drop the one, your principle, you don't know. The global will come and do it. Some people life every day, it's stress. The high price from JPS, that topic is currently. Jah alone, him a go help you. We need food, but we no healthy. We are feel the pain, beg you protect we. In our life, we have no fenve. Take a look at life, and don't close your eyes. Sometimes things happen, and it's no surprise. And I just, so it go, so it go, so it go, so it go. It's a government no have no heart, them no care about poor people.
It's all about life in the street. People are suffer, try survive in the heat. But mind them up to one, hygiene a do it. That's why enough of them, yeah, rifle a beat. Everybody want big ups and want to drive in a Jeep. Every day I'm at the ball when she bike in a read. Not even 5 days, we can't find for the week. Me no see no changes, the same cycle repeat. Give thanks cause life it's a sweet. But keep an eye open every time you go slave. Come mankind jealous and them idle go rape. Them never yet plant and not try figure rape. Bigger heads where you fight for the sake. Now care about the future nor the child where you creep. Them a pray the fat Kyle was submit. The system will slide where you fit.
In the streets so we born and grow. Only Jah know and nobody know.
When we talk about ghetto life, talk about ghetto life. Ghetto life.
Everybody a priest, say them want the dough. That's why them a speed and they pan the go.
Cause this a real ghetto life. This a real ghetto life. Yeah. Everybody just a pre-success. When me looking at the street, you me see enough stress. Them all a fight for who reach up next. Everybody want floss and a beat up chest. Juvenile in a them teen love sex. Them a pre the fast money, them no need subjects. And if you're unfortunate, please don't vex. I saw the thing said, cause the streets don't rest.
In the streets so we born and grow. Only Jah know and nobody know.
When we talk about ghetto life, talk about ghetto life.
Everybody a priest, say them want the dough. That's why them a speed and they pan the go.
Cause this a real ghetto life. This a real ghetto life. Yeah. It's all about life in the street. People are suffer, try survive in the heat. But mind them up to one, hygiene a do it. That's why enough of them, yeah, rifle a beat. Everybody want big ups and want to drive in a Jeep. Every day I'm at the ball when she bike in a read. Not even 5 wheels, we can't find for the week. Me no see no changes, the same cycle repeat. Give thanks cause life it's a sweet. But keep an eye open every time you go slave. Come mankind jealous and them idle go rape. Them never yet plant and not try figure rape. Bigger heads where you fight for the sake. Now care about the future nor the child where you creep. Them a pray the fat Kyle was submit. The system will slide where you fit.
In the streets so we born and grow. Only Jah know and nobody know.
When we talk about ghetto life, talk about ghetto life.
Everybody a priest, say them want the dough. That's why them a speed and they pan the go.
Cause this a real ghetto life. This a real ghetto life. Yeah.
righteousness, they say we are praised. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised. Brought us from the motherland in bondage and chains. Bury our culture and change our names. They claim we're free, yet we are in pain. As long as there's life, there's a lot to gain. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised. When God spoke his words, they said he was deranged. Marley sung his songs, they said the same. Malcolm X and Martin Luther fought relentlessly so we could be better. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised. Brought us from the motherland in bondage and chains. Bury our culture and change our names. They claim we're free, yet we are in pain. As long as there's life, there's a lot to gain. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised. Just because we're black, they say we are slaves. Speak of righteousness, they say we are praised.
I'm a war president. I make decisions here in the Oval Office in foreign policy matters with war on my mind.
We have a rocket launcher. They have a rocket. We have a rocket. We have a rocket. The rocket launcher. We are at war. We are at with ourselves. With ourselves. We are at war. We are at with ourselves. With ourselves. We're gonna bomb them. What children and women? What a lot of collateral damage in a moment is coming. They had it coming. What? Well, I've been summing it up and I've been counting all the ways that I hate your guts. I'm number one in charge of big bombing. Boys, I've been bombing. Storming Norman's armies coming to Saddam 'em. Gomorrah and Saddam 'em. Show 'em who's royal. Boy, will we take oil from 'em? Yup, we're gonna dumb 'em. Shoot your sons and televise the revolution so you know who is the one that's bombing you. Bomb 'em. Release Martin Lockheed on them. What beautiful ballistics. Try not to bleed on them. Yup, we're gonna run them. Nagasaki son them. Atomically bomb them. And take Saki from them. Yup, we're gonna dun them. When in Rome, it's so common like rumors of war. I told you. We are at war. We are at with ourselves. With ourselves. With ourselves. We are at war. We are at with ourselves. With ourselves. With ourselves. We are at war. We are at with ourselves. With ourselves. With ourselves. We are at war. We are at with ourselves. With ourselves. We're gonna bomb them. Radical Islam them. A mass that ass. You can feel us coming. We're suicidal bombing. Pardon. Is that a rocket in your pocket or you just happy to see us bombing? We're bombing shit to shift the ownership from Egypt to the Gaza Strip. We're straight bombing. Bombing like Israeli 7 days a week. Cause rarely do we keep Sabbath day holy enough to not bomb 'em. World War III on them. War games. Push pawns on them to die. While the nights checkmate on them. Kingdom coming to an end. I'm drumming love battle songs. I'll battle on the crush and bomb 'em. embalm them, then again, bomb them again. And for the live commentary, tune to CNN for the dead coverage of me bombing them. A star-spangled harming in the peace. We'll have peace after I'm done bombing. Them have a rocket, hey, we have a rocket. What? We are gonna rocket, the rocket launcher. Them have a rocket, hey, we have a rocket. Whoa. We are gonna rocket, the rocket launcher. Them have a rocket, hey, we have a rocket. What? We are gonna rocket, the rocket launcher. Them have a rocket, whoa. We have a rocket, hey, we are gonna rocket, the rocket launcher. We are at war, we are at war with ourselves, with ourselves. We are at war, we are at war with ourselves, with ourselves. We are at war, we are at with ourselves, with ourselves. We are at war, we are at with ourselves, with ourselves. We are at war, and I got the scar to show. Hey, look, y'all, it's psychological like apocalypse, y'all. It's the rise and the fall of man. It was orchestrated by his own hand, and damn, time to build up Noah's Ark again to withstand the fire next time we burn the land. And my rocket launcher goes bang, and just a few years ago you was my man. And we shot Russians together. Now discussions are just like whatever, yeah, whatever. Cause we could declare war is over, but still keep bringing home more dead soldiers. When peace is wartime, ceases our kind to live on this planet. Just one hot granite in space, with intimations of a human race at war with itself that costed itself when...
I'm a war president. I make decisions here in the